We are now going to begin the conversation about this legislation. So before we get into the packet and everything, I'm going to make some remarks and invite the co-chair of our joint committee, Councilmember Navarro, GO Chair Navarro. I know she'll also want to make some remarks as well. So let me just start by thanking everybody who's been involved. This has been a pretty intense discussion, and we've gotten some very helpful guidance from a lot of different voices. Nina Albert from WMATA gave us a very thorough presentation that looked at every single metro site in the county and gave us an estimate of what they thought the development potential is at every metro site in the county. But I think even more importantly, Nina conveyed to me, to us, to the Joint Committee that WMATA had already identified the need for game-changing thinking about how to spur development on their sites, that it's a regional problem. It's not even just a Montgomery County problem, that you can look all around the region and you'll see kind of a hole in the donut was the phrase that was used, that the metro station sites are generally empty. And Montgomery County is no different. In fact, we're facing some significant issues there. So Nina gave us the WMATA's professional real estate expertise as to the nature of the problem, the nature of the cost differential for high-rise construction, and why that was the specific challenge, as well as reminding us that Metro had abandoned, developers had abandoned developments in the past with Metro's understanding because they didn't want to do low-rise or mid-rise. They wanted to do high-rise because that was what Montgomery County wanted. Unless Montgomery County wanted to change what we want, then they're holding out for what we have said we want, which is high-rise at Metro, but they're stuck and not much is happening, and they're very appreciative of what we might be able to do. The Sierra Club, Coalition for Smarter Growth, Action in Montgomery, the Action Committee for Transit, Friends of Forest Glen, all have been very active and engaged as we worked through the committee process. And of course, and Friends of White Flint. The planning board gave this a very thorough review, and I thought provided some very helpful comments to us at our committee. I know they're here, and WMATA's here today, among others, as a resource for us. And I certainly want to thank, again, the co-chair of the Joint Committee, Nancy Navarro, and my co-lead sponsor on the legislation, Andrew Friedson. We've been working together as a team, along with many of you, and it has been a very significant effort. This is a big proposal, and it's a heavy lift, and everyone has been playing really important roles. So I'm going to just make a few comments, and then again turn it back to my co-chair. As I mentioned, we are underachieving at our prime smart growth locations, which is the land at the metro station. If you look near the metro station, you will often see some development. But if you come out of the escalator, if you come off the elevator, walk up the stairs at the station, you will see empty land. You'll see parking lots. You'll see just about anything but high rises right there at the station. And that is despite decades of effort by Metro to work with developers to support development there. And it's despite the commitment of millions of dollars of infrastructure by Metro to support joint development agreements, despite willingness to spend significant money, despite open bidding and solicitations, developers securing contracts to do the development. Developers have walked away time and time again from these metro station sites for a variety of reasons, fundamentally about the strength of the market, the demand, the versus the expected rent versus the cost, and the cost being a function of the rather intense requirements for building on metro land. Building on metro land is nothing like building next door to metro. Next door to metro, you might just have ground. That's all you have to do. At a metro site, you have to probably provide for parking that is already there. You have to replace. So you have to build far more than your own share of parking. You have to provide very specialized engineering if you're building over the station. As a matter of fact, when County Executive Leggett proposed a Wheaton redevelopment over the metro bus station, he recommended to the council that the council spend $40 million to build a bus bay. And then a developer would come in and put office or residential on top of the bus bay. But the proposal was for a $40 million expenditure by the county to build a bus bay. County council ultimately felt that that was not the wisest strategy for that area, and we adopted the one that you see now up, but it's not on the metro site. The metro site remains undeveloped. There are very significant problems with developing on metro sites. Our county has challenges. You know, we are our place in the regional economic, solar system is not so strong. You know, we're sort of considered a little bit in the outer orbit. We got to change the conversation about this county, and this is the kind of bold thinking that we believe the Joint Committee believes that this is the kind of bold thinking that will really move the ball forward, and spur some investment, spur some change, advance our master plans. We have these incredible master plans that present compelling visions of what community life could be like, what our future can be, based on certain development, certain kinds of development, and smart growth on top of metro is a big part of that. I think it was Councilmember Friedson who said, rather than having our metro stations as an anchor, pulling down our smart growth areas, which they're empty parking lots that diminish the character and the quality and the built environment. We should have them, we need to spur some investment so that they can lift the area and support the overall success of the community or the location where they are. So advancing our own master plans, our own economic development strategy, meeting our housing goals. I know Councilmember Navarro, will surely comment, but under her leadership, this county council and this county government participated in and committed to significant goals for housing. We were all emailed today on a different topic, but a quote that I'm going to write down and remember by a DC council member that said, goals are only as good as your willingness to make changes to support them. We have all adopted very ambitious goals about housing in this county. This is a change that we've brought forward, the Joint Committee recommendation, that is intended to help us achieve those goals. Based on WMATA's formulation of how much development can be supported at each station, they think that there could be 8,600, as much as 8,600 housing units, creating somewhere between 1,300 and 1,400 MPDUs, a significant chunk potentially over the long term of our gap in housing shortage relative to projected demand. So it's a meaningful solution around housing, and it provides transportation benefits. It's people who drive less because they're located at on metro. It supports our climate goals because people are driving less because they're right on top of metro. It even preserves agriculture. This is partly how we fund preservation of ag land, and as well as reduce the pressure to develop farmland. So there are so many public virtues, public benefits, public goals tied up in securing development at metro that we felt that it's worth doing something significant to get those benefits. And that's where the incentive comes in. So the proposal is to provide an incentive to a development there to not collect property tax for the first 15 years of development. We had modeled this out for Grosvenor and found that the income tax that is paid by people who live in the housing there more than makes up for what is lost in property tax. So it is a net fiscal positive to the county. There is some, I know we've heard about the fiscal impact of this proposal, and I just want to say very plainly, if I thought that these developments would happen, if we thought these developments would happen without this incentive, there would be no need for this. We would never have brought it forward. But it is our belief, based on the very plain evidence around us, that is vividly clear, but also projections and real estate expertise, that this development is not coming, that it will not happen without significant support from the public sector. And that is just the reality. So the fiscal impact of this, we did receive a fiscal impact statement that assumed that all development on metro sites would happen right now, and then projected what property taxes would not be collected. But that is a kind of a silly exercise, because this development is not going to happen, and we believe it won't happen without this incentive that's being provided. So before I turn it to my colleague, Co-Chair Navarro, Mr. Drummer in the memo has laid out what the committee recommended. I think it would be, of course, appropriate to ask Bob to summarize what the Joint Committee has done. And then the packet also has amendments that the committee did not adopt. I don't think we need to go through amendments that we did not adopt, but I do think we should go then to find out what amendments council members may wish to support. There has been a lot of conversation. I know everyone is feeling, everyone has been very engaged, and the legislative process is working its magic. So we're going to hear more, not to steal anyone's thunder, but we're going to hear more about various amendments that I think I'm optimistic there should be consensus around: local hiring, around affordable housing, and even around sunsetting. There has been one specific difficult issue, and that is the prevailing wage. And the challenge with that one, as we'll get to later, is just the unusual cost of that relative to the value of the incentive. But there are other public amendments, public benefits that we are seeking, and I think there are more amendments that we can support today.